Hey there! So I'm actually excited about today's topic because we are going to talk about the cereals, starchy roots, and tubers food group, a group that I know most of us Zambians are very well aware of and eat a lot from. When I say cereals, I know we know breakfast cereals like the cornflakes and Cocoa Pops, the Rice Krispies, whatever cereals you know out there. Those are also cereals because they come from a cereal grain. But really, when we talk about cereals in the food grouping system, what we're really looking at are cereal grains. For example, these will be your rice, maize, sorghum, millet, rye, wheat, and also their products. Like in the case of maize meal, for example, milli meal that we call milli meal, and also bread. There's the same breakfast cereals as well, the cornflakes and so forth. They all fall under that group, and they all fall under cereal grains, right? Flour, sort of tumbuas that we eat are all products of that group. So it's cereals, starchy roots, and tubers as well as their products. So those are cereals. So now let's talk about starchy roots. Starchy roots are cassava, for example, yams, right? In certain parts of the country, we do consume yams. Airing potato. Some call it impama or misepo. Those will also fall under that group. So any yams that you consume would fall under that group. But what about, let me ask you a question. Busala, carrots, and beetroot, where would you classify those? Definitely not in this group. They are not in the cereals, starchy roots, and tubers group because, mind you, the key word there is starchy. The term starchy means, foods that give you that unga taste, right? That mealy meal, that's starchy. I don't know how else to describe it, but unga. Like potatoes, sweet potatoes, Irish potatoes, cassava, and the yams that I've talked about would fall under the starchy roots and tubers. Carrots doesn't give you that unga taste. Beetroot, nah. Busala, no. So those would be in the vegetables, and we'll talk about vegetables another day. But today we are looking at cereals, starchy roots, and tubers. In the past, we used to call this group energy-giving foods, but not anymore. So please do not talk about energy-giving foods anymore, because really any food can give you energy. It all depends on the amount and how complex the energy is, because really we get energy from a nutrient called carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are found in a number of foods, plant foods especially. So you cannot have energy-giving foods and non-energy-giving foods because you find that there'll be an overlap. And I feel as if that's the reason why most of us have been eating poorly. It's because of the old classification of foods, the energy-giving, protective, and bodybuilding. It has really messed up our diets as Africans, and I'll be specific to Zambians. In the past, and even now, because some people still think that there is energy-giving, bodybuilding, and so forth. You find that on a plate or in a meal, someone will have mshima with beets. Really? And then say, okay, the beans will give bodybuilding, and then again, we eat beans as a vegetable, which is so wrong. That's basically energy on energy. Another example is rice, beans, and butternut or pumpkin. Now that's a mess. That's like starch, and more starch. And then you wonder why your sugar levels are out of control. You wonder why your blood pressure is out of control and you're only 40 years old. You have this spare tire around your waist. We shouldn't be surprised because the way we eat is actually very poor. You find that 80% of our diets are from the carbohydrates. So we are eating a lot more carbohydrates than any other foods or foods that contain other nutrients. So it's mainly carbohydrates, carb, and more carbs. But nevertheless, that does not mean now that you have to exclude or totally remove carbs. So those who go on these keto diets or low carbohydrate diets, be extremely careful. Because what I'm saying here is not that carbohydrates are bad. It is an important nutrient. I'll give you an example. The brain only uses glucose for its energy. That's the preferred source of energy for the brain. And so even as nutritionists and dietitians, we are taught not to plan diets below 45% carbohydrates. No. But that again does not mean that you consume 80-90% of carbohydrates. No. Basically, the recommendation is 50 to 60% carbohydrates, and it is this group that gives you the biggest chunk of this amount of energy, right, from your cereals, starchy roots, and tubers. So it is this group that gives you most of that energy. But you have to consume foods from this group wisely. So for example, a good estimation of how much ishima you should consume is your fist. So my amount of ishima to consume will be about this. We say about 4 of these per day. So 1, 2, 3, 4 max. So be it ishima, be it bread, be it potatoes, be it, yeah, those who would want to weigh about 560 grams, but let's not go into the weighing because we don't eat like that. Use your fist to estimate how much you need to eat. I know that the typical meal plan for Zambia is 3 meals. So you have breakfast, lunch, and supper. So how you break down your foods from this group is by having 2 fists at lunch, which is ishima or rice, or even 1, depending on your energy needs. Again, if you do some strenuous work, you may need a little bit more energy, but generally speaking, 4 is enough. When it comes to, let's say, bread, 3 slices of bread, not 8, dear Zambians, not 8 slices of bread in one city. No, 3 slices of bread in the morning is enough energy, especially for the layperson, for somebody who does light activities. You do a lot of office work, for example. You have your breakfast and you sit behind the computer. You do not need that much energy. So all that excess is actually converted into fats, which you do not need, which actually affects your blood sugar levels, your blood pressure, and also unnecessary weight gain. I'm not saying you should be skinny thin. No, but a healthy weight is important to have because it actually helps you in a number of other areas. Being just healthy, being more productive, having a clear mind to think it, do a number of other things. So you do need to have a good body weight as well as, your body running smoothly. Be mindful of how much energy you're actually consuming or how much foods from these food groups you're consuming. So please, that heap of ushima with very little else, we need to run away from that. It is killing us. And then at supper, if you do have supper, preferably 2 hours. Have your supper 2 hours before you go to bed. Don't eat supper and then 5 minutes later you're snoring. No. That again in the bed messes up your blood sugar levels. It's really this group of foods that mess up our blood sugar levels. And also, the type of carbohydrate or the type of cereals, starchy roots, and tubers that we consume. This refined breakfast ishima, I know we'll be having talks around this for a long time now. Whenever a politician says, eat roller, eat lugaiwa, you feel it is an insult. But I think with knowledge, we should be able to make better choices now. You see, because breakfast meal, ushima, is actually very refined. It does not contain more or less like that net. Think of it this way. It's like a football goal, right? And when there's no net around the goal, when the ball enters the goal, it actually goes way out to the fanatics out there. But then when you have a net, that ball enters and it stays within the goal. It's the same with the cereals, starchy roots, and tubers that we consume, especially cereals, the severely refined ones, especially maize meal and wheat, which we really get to refine. You find that you're removing that net that is supposed to guard, more or less protect the sugar. Because mind you, carbohydrates is broken down into simple sugars, right? So the carbohydrate, it is in a complex form when it's in the plant. When you consume it, it is broken down further into smaller units of that carbohydrates, like smaller building blocks of the carbohydrate. When that happens, we have what we call sugar or simple sugar. So you have glucose, you have maltose, you have sucrose, and all that, small, depending on what carbohydrate it is. Finally, when it's broken down into those smaller units, without that roughage of fiber from the cereal, because you have taken it to the jigayo and removed all that fiber and given the chickens, what happens is now that starch or that sugar is now just exposed. And so when it enters the body, it is quickly turned into simple sugars, and then your blood sugar levels go off the roof. And then when they go off the roof, the body is so overwhelmed, doesn't know what to do with it anymore. Like, okay, I only needed so much, but now I have this much. What do I do with the rest? So then the brain tells the body, okay, convert it into fat. because if it stays elevated like that, the body will knock out. So then the body starts to quickly package it into your thighs, into your arms, into your legs, and before you know it, you're gaining weight and just saying, but I only eat 3 slices of bread. But what kind of bread? Only eat 1 piece of shima, what form of shima. So it has to be the complex kind of shima. So mugaiwa is your best choice. Personally, I don't prefer roller, especially roller from the shops. I'm sorry, it sits on those shelves for a long time. The taste is altered. No, I prefer to buy my maize and take it to the chigayo where it is milled and given to me as I took it. The whole bag. I bring it home and I cook shima from that. So that is actually a better option because you still have that fiber. So you find that even this fist size, I'm saying, because some of you are probably frowning. When I say it's fist size, you probably say, oh no, that's too little. But too little because you're eating breakfast in shima. Breakfast in shima has very little fiber, if no fiber at all. And so when it gets in the body, it just melts away. And then 2 minutes later, you are hungry. Or you want to go for a second round and third and fourth and 5. And before you know it, you've eaten in excess. But when it's not refined, like maize meal, which is gaisha as whole, or even better if you can add cassava to it, because cassava is a very fibrous root. Explore on these blends: millet, cassava, maize, millet, cassava, sorghum, and so forth. You create this blend. Trust me, really, it's a recipe for weight management. Because when you do that, sugar is released slower in your bloodstream because of that that fiber. So the sugar just gets in slowly. So it keeps you full for a longer time. You find that, you had your shima. Those who eat a shima in the morning, no problem. You had your shima in the morning and by noon, you're still feeling full. And that is good. So basically that helps you to now manage your weight. Unlike the refined shima, tumbua from refined flour. Because you see, when we refine, what happens is that we take away all the nutrients that are needed. All of them go in that gaga and you eat absolutely nothing. Someone said something interesting. I think I was giving a training somewhere and someone said, it's the same way that insects also know where the nutrients are. You'll never find an insect till breakfast meal. Never. But mugaiwa mini meal, if it is not stored correctly, it's a disaster. You have all kinds of weevils walking in there. Check your beans as well. You find that you have all kinds of weevils in there because they know where the nutrients are. And so, what more as human beings? Why are we depriving ourselves of key nutrients? Because there's an important nutrient that many of us Zambians lack, but that is found in cereals, starchy roots and tubers, especially cereals. And this nutrient is called folate. Wanamai. We go to these clinics when we are pregnant and we are told you need folic acid. That word folic acid is the synthetic form of folate. Now, when you consume that folic acid, it's actually very important even in weight management because it's the same folate which is like the broom for your bloodstream. Whenever cholesterol forms up, it comes in and sweeps. Just like garbage. We do have garbage collectors around the city. Imagine if we did not have garbage collectors, the piles and piles of dirt that we'll be having. The cholera that we are experiencing is all because of poor garbage management as well. But now imagine all that happening in your body where garbage keeps on piling up, cholesterol this, cholesterol that, and next thing you know, you're going to your doctor. Some don't even go to the doctor regularly. You get to find out that you have a problem when something has already happened. You collapse in a meeting somewhere and you're rushed to the hospital, and that's how you get to know that, oh, I have cholesterol problem. Oh, I did not know I have high blood pressure. All this can be avoided by just making this simple change. Make the choice to eat unrefined cereals, starchy roots and tubers, especially with that shima. Let's go easy on our shima. This size of mugaiwa, of millet, of sorghum, shima, cassava and shima, that's your better options. And trust me, if you go that route, you tell me you'll be getting full for a longer time on a small portion of shima than what you'll be eating. So till next time, do the right thing. Way to eat. Subscribe.